Hey, friends, and welcome back to the Pouring Over Books podcast. I am LaShawn, your host. And, friends, it is March. How did we get here so quickly? I'm half with excitement that the cold weather is going to be ending for us here in Atlanta soon, and scared of what we call the pollinating at the same time. And also, at the same time, wondering why is time moving so quickly? I don't know. March is like that in between month for me where, like I said, I'm happy to see the almost back of winter while we are inching towards my one of my favorites, spring. But also that means that Easter is coming and then spring break is here in Atlanta, and that will be followed closely by the end of the school year, which for personal reasons this year, I need time to slow down once again. My son will be a senior in high school come the fall, so I just want to hold on to every minute because time is flying by at an alarming rate. Alarming. Anyway, March brings way too many books that I want to read, and I really have no idea how I'll get through all of them. I have way too many arcs, advanced reader copies right now that I need to get through, and I feel bad. I am so behind. I am ridiculously behind. I'm like 2 months behind. But anyway, that's a first world problem. That is a reader girl problem, but I'm going to catch up. I'm going to catch up. Anyway, let's talk about, since it is beginning of the month, let's go ahead and talk about what I read in February and what I'm looking forward to in March. I read 19 books last month. And yes, that is a lot. And I will say it's because I had a lot of time on my hands last month. And I filled that time by reading romances. The romances that I read were not deep. These were Kindle Unlimited picks for the most part. They were easy to read. They had a point. I read a lot of male romances last month too. I like fell into it after Heated, because you read the Heated Rivalry. Then I discovered what's his name? Bauer. And then I was like, oh, let me just keep this going, because one thing, like I always say about male romance, is that it is a lot of yearning. It is like how romance really used to be. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of them still have lots of sex in them, but the yearning that usually comes before the sex is much better sometimes than modern day romances. I don't know. The romance community, romance writers, I really need us to get back into the yearning of it all, because that's really what's missing. But anyway, I went through Kindle Unlimited looking for ones. Most of them were not great. Most of them were just okay, and that's okay. They were easy. They were not long. They were distractions, and almost none of them rated above, I'd say, a 3. Which, if you have been following me, you know that a 3 means I enjoyed it. Like I said, I started many of them, and I think I DNF'd about 5. And a couple of those romances, one of those I DNF'd at the 80% mark, really. I just literally didn't care anymore about the characters. I DNF'd one this morning at around the 90% mark. I knew if I just read a couple of more minutes, I would get to the end of it, but I literally did not care. I don't care. So anyway, out of those 19 books that I read in February, I picked 4 to talk about today, because only those 4 were worth talking about. Actually, there was maybe 2 more that got like a 4, but I don't really feel like talking about them. But if you have listened to this podcast in the last month, some will be repeats, but that's because they are worth talking about. Okay? Okay, just stick with me. All right, let's get started. The first book that I want to talk about is The Arcane Inheritance by Camilla Cole. The premise: Warren University has long stood among the Ivy elite, its legacy built on the bones and the forbidden magic of its most prized minority students. Beneath the prestige lies a secret society willing to sacrifice anyone to protect its power. Freshman Ellery Morgan is determined to prove that she belongs. But as she navigates campus, the shadowed halls and ornate buildings feel unsettlingly familiar. The deja vu grows stronger and darker by the day. Elroy is certain of one impossible truth. She has been here before. And if she can't convince legacy student Hudson Graves to help her uncover the past, she may lose herself to it forever. This reminds me of a movie that I can't mention because then it would give away the plot and the plot twist. The twists made things make sense, but still, I wanted more from this book than I got. I went in thinking dark academia with a side of romance, and I was right. But also, how can I put it? If I discuss this too much, I'll give away the plot and the plot twist. Let's just say I had bigger hopes for it, but I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5. So, it was good. It's a standalone, so there won't be a sequel or anything like that. I got to the end and was like, "Oh, okay." And, we don't always want that with our books. The next book that I want to talk about is Daggermouth by H.M. Wolf. Unless you have been under a rock, if you have been online in the book community in any capacity, you have heard someone talking about this book. Either they love it, or they DNF'd it, or they hated it, or there really is no in between. Or they just thought it was okay. Okay, that is in between. Let's discuss. Grayson Sorrell has spent his life split between appearances and secrecies, the perfect heir to a brutal regime, hiding truths that could bring it down. When he's forced into a political marriage to secure the government's power, however, he's bound to Shadra, a deadly mercenary sent to kill him. Her failed mission leaves her trapped as both prisoner and soon to be wife of the very man she was sent to kill. Forced to live together, forced proximity, they both come to understand that they are both prisoners. And even then, these two must choose between destroying one another or joining forces to take down the regime that has imprisoned them both. Friends, my friends. So listen, I love a good enemies to lovers book, but I don't read them often because usually they are enemies for about 10 to 25% of the book, and it's really just sexual tension, maybe disguised as not liking each other, or something like he is her work rival or childhood enemy bully, something like that. But these two hated each other, like literally. It was maybe 68% into the book and they were still trying to kill each other. Like literally, they shot each other. And it was literally until about 90% in, like 10% of the book left before it seemed that there was going to be some movement towards the lovers part of this equation. But I'll tell you that even then, I was like, well, god darn. Which is fitting since this is a duology. But this was so well done. The side characters were flushed out, and I was just as invested in them as I was invested in our two main characters. One of them more than the main couple almost, and I will say I was on the floor wailing at certain turns of events, and I'm trying not to give too many spoilers here. If I could have given this 6 stars, I would have. H.M. Wolf inked a 7-figure deal because this was independently published when I discovered it. But she just inked a 7-figure deal to traditionally publish this book. It's going to come out later this fall. So if you are looking for it is still available, I think, on Kindle Unlimited and in some bookstores. I think that they decided to go ahead and publish a few more of the independent versions of this book. If you're really looking for it and you want one in your hand, what's it called? Books A Million is the one that really carries it in stock. And if not, check out your local bookstores. And Amazon has it too. And I think it's on back order on Amazon or something like that. And it's taking like a week to get to you. But those are the places that still have copies. If you are interested, if you don't want to buy it, but you just want to try it out, like I said, Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited. The next book that I read last month was If I Rule the World by Amy Dubois Burnett. To recap, it's 1999, and Nikki Rose is the only Black editor at a prestigious fashion magazine until she's told one too many times that Black girls don't sell. She quits her job and takes over Sugar, a failing hip hop magazine with big potential and even bigger problems. Given 6 months to save the magazine, Nikki dives into New York's world of power, parties, and ambition while proving that she can lead. But her biggest threat is her wealthy, married ex lover who wants to destroy both her and the magazine. He wants to destroy it because of her and because it's a competition. But anyway, with loyal friends and unexpected romance, Nikki must decide what success really means. Friends, I gave this 5 stars also, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I gave it 5 stars on vibes alone. This gave me, if you are grew up in the '90s, this gave me Fly Girls and the Coldest Winter Ever vibes, but make it grown and not so crazy. This was '90s core. It took me back to what I consider the best years in hip hop and the era I was in high school and college in the '90s. Did the main character, Nikki Rose, get on my everlasting nerve with the lessons she refused to learn until about maybe 80% into the book? And even then, I was just still side eyeing her. Yes. But did her naivete and blind spots propel the story forward and make a great book? Also, yes, two things can and are true at the same time in this book. I literally shook my head like every other chapter, like Nikki, girl, girl. But like I said, maybe I was sympathetic to her having lived in that era of, the '90s. And I know that the social norms then that she was working around and in the hip hop culture are not the same ones that we have today. So, anyway, all in all, it was a good book. It was a good story with a very satisfying ending. So, the last book that I'm going to talk about that I read last month was Sula by Toni Morrison. The premise: Sula and Nell are born in the bottom, a small town at the top of a hill. Sula is wild and daring and she does what she wants, while Nell is well mannered, a mama's girl with a questioning heart. Growing up, they forge a bond stronger than anything, stronger even than the dark secret that they have to bear. Strong enough, it seems, to last a lifetime until decades later, as the girls become women, Sula's anarchy leads to a betrayal that may be beyond forgiveness. We read this book for the Pouring Over Books book club. We are reading Toni Morrison all year. This was our February pick. This is maybe my third time reading Sula, but this was the first time that I was reading it with a literary analysis in mind. In the end, this is a story of friendship between these two women. And when I tell people this is one of her easiest books to read, I'm always met with a what? It's really straightforward. When it comes to the story, there are, some side things that if you look deeper into, you'll see, but there's not a lot of hidden meaning and thoughts. That, of course, will change in our next book that we're reading for March. We are reading Song of Solomon for March. So yes, ramps. The Toni Morrison of it all ramps up. But anyway, Sula was very lyrical. Like the writing is beautiful. And it was a good story. And I gave it a 4 out of 5. Now, friends, let's talk about the books that I'm looking forward to in March. First up is Lake Effect by Cynthia D'Aprix Sweeney, which is out today, March 3rd. Let's see what it's about. In 1977, restlessness lingers on Cambridge Road in Rochester, New York, a neighborhood shaped by Kodaks, Xerox, and Catholic tradition. When Nina Larkin receives the joy of sex from a friend, she begins questioning the quiet dissatisfaction in her marriage. As her daughter Clara experiences first love, Nina embarks on a risky affair that threatens both families and alters Clara's path to adulthood. Years later, Clara, now a successful food stylist in New York City, is still haunted by the scandal. Returning home for a wedding, she faces her past and makes a life changing choice about love, family, and forgiveness. I saw this one. I have an arc for this one. And so I need to get to it. It's one of the many arcs that I have. But I'm really looking forward to this one. How can I fit it? It sounds like they're women's fiction that reminds me of like the favorites, not the favorites, reminds me of like what was that book with the daughters that lived in New York? But like sounds like that good type of women's fiction that I like to read. So I'm very interested in this one, and I'll let you know when I get to it. It might not be in March, but I will get to it. The next book that I'm interested in is 200 Monas by Jan Sanez. It's also out today, 3-3. Harvey Keening is weeks away from graduating from Westmer University and starting a prestigious internship until she discovers 200 pills in her late mother's closet. When dangerous dealers come looking for payment, they reveal that the drug isn't what she thought it was, and they give her an ultimatum: sell every pill in 48 hours or face deadly consequences. Desperate, Arvy teams up with Wolf, the campus dealer she can barely stand. As they race across town trying to unload the stash, chaos erupts. But beneath the frenzy, Arvy must confront the grief she's been avoiding and what this reckless gamble might awaken in her. I saw this book late last year in a catalog that was talking about books coming out in 2026, and I was fascinated by the description of this book. And so I literally can't wait. I have this one on hold at the library. I'm like some random long number. I'm waiting for it, but as soon as it comes, this is the one that I'll put everything down for and start reading. The next book on my list is Across the Vanishing Sky by Catherine Cowles. Let's tell you what it's about. Braden Winslow never planned to return to Starlight Grove, the town where her best friend vanished and her life unraveled. But with a young son to protect and unanswered questions haunting her, Bray is determined to uncover the truth. What she doesn't expect is Dex Archer, the brooding mountain man next door with a troubled family legacy. Beneath his rough exterior, Dex is fiercely loyal and willing to protect her when threats start closing in. As danger escalates and secrets surface, Bray realizes that the only person she can trust is the man who swore never to trust again, and he'll step back into the dark just to keep her safe. Now, this is one of my romance novels, and I literally will read anything that Catherine Cowles puts out. It's romance, as you can tell, and her series usually follow around a group of siblings and or friends, but most of the time it's siblings in some small town, and there's always some type of kidnapping and someone trying to kill the main female character. Good times, really good times. So that one comes out today too, and by the time you read this, I will have already downloaded it. Already. I can't even help myself. The next book on my list is Mayhem and the Mortal by Shanora Williams, which comes out on March 7th. This is romantasy. Zarya doesn't want a hero, she wants a weapon. To save her sister from a soul-devouring curse, she has to cross the Shallows, a nightmare landscape of ruined magic, shifting paths, and vicious creatures that eat people alive. Her guide, Thane Valkor, sorcerer, assassin, walking red flag. His name clears rooms. His magic kills quietly. Ooh. And whatever he's really after, it's not salvation. He promises to help. He might even mean it. But Zarya knows better than to trust a liar with a blade and ice in his veins. She doesn't just have a choice. So here she goes. I love a good romantasy, and I love a good, unique romantasy. This sounds different. So I have read this author before, both her romance books and her romantasy. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. I already have it on hold at the library. We'll see. And I'm not even like well down the list because hardly nobody knows about this one, but now you guys do too. The next book on my list is The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez, which comes out March 24th. See what it's about. For Larissa, it came when choosing who to ride home with after a concert. That night, she had no idea she'd met the perfect man. She and Chris are great friends, co parenting a slightly unhinged rescue Yorkie and sharing their favorite books and judging bread, pumpernickel for the win. For the first time amid all her side hustles to scrape by, things finally feel easy. But she didn't choose Chris to drive her home all those months ago. She went with his best friend, and he became her boyfriend. All Chris wants is for Larissa to be happy. Standing by on the sidelines is slowly killing him, but making a move would destroy someone else. How can something that feels so right be absolutely impossible? Abby Jimenez is an automatic buy for me, and she has been since about I discovered maybe her third book. I think I discovered her when she had like 3 books out. Yes, so she has been for years, years now, like since the pandemic. She has been like an automatic buy for me. Even though her last book, I must say, was not my favorite, I will still read her books every single time. She's almost up there with Emily Henry for me. So, you know, she writes, I will read it. I will no, not only will I read it, I will buy it and it goes on my bookshelf. And I have no shame. Plus, her books, along with Emily Henry books, usually be signal the beginning of what I call warm reading season. So I am excited, like really excited for this one. The last book on my list that I am looking forward to this month is Phases by Brandy, which is out March 31st. I'm just going to read from the publisher's description for this one. Brandy is a Grammy Award winning singer, songwriter, producer, actress, and the ultimate triple threat. She rose to fame as the star of the long running sitcom Moesha and broke new ground as the first Black actress to portray a Disney princess on screen. It was Cinderella with Whitney Houston. She starred as cover girl and captivated audiences on Broadway. Brandy is adoringly known as the vocal Bible, and her decades-long career has more than proven that she deserves the title. With a singular voice that swells from subdued and reserved to powerfully emotive, she has enraptured audiences since her 1994 self-titled debut. The quadruple platinum album was steeped in relatable R&B and served as an introduction to her signature sound. There's a lot more here that I'm just going to cut out. She is a generational talent. Anyway, she has a book. Came out, like they said in the description, 1994. I remember I Want to Be Down came out. I was a freshman in college when that song came out. I never watched Moesha because that was during the period of time where I was working a lot of nights and I did not watch a lot of TV, so I missed a lot of shows. I am still a Brandy stan, and I love me some Brandy, so I cannot wait to listen to this book because, yes, I will be getting this audio version of this book. All right, friends, let's move on to the currently section of this podcast and let's talk about what I'm currently loving. Currently I am loving thrift books, thriftbooks.com. I knew about them, but I had never actually ordered a book from them until late last year. I was just getting into the Side Changeling series from Nalini Singh, and I found the first one in a local used bookstore here, but couldn't find any more. And I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of money on books that I didn't think wasn't quite sure if I wanted to continue the series. So I went to Thrift Books because I was like, okay, I can get a used version of this for pretty good. And I got the next 5 in the series for like $15. And then I got 2 free books for spending money because I kept ordering other books. Like for the Porno Books Book Club, I ordered like some versions, an extra copy of some Toni Morrison books because I didn't want to write up my original copies, but I'm perfectly okay with writing up some used copies. But anyway, so yeah, I'm hooked now. It's perfect for like the older versions of books and market paperbacks, which, as you know, if you didn't know, they are discontinuing mass market paperbacks. I will put a link in the show notes for that. And it's good for older books too. Like I got my copy of The Odyssey from there and it was like $2. So I love it. I'll leave a link in the show notes so you can check it out. I think if you join but anyway, check it out. Anyway, I'm currently reading Kin by Tayari Jones. Yes, I'm finally into it. I am 49% in. I'm going really, really slow, almost savoring it. Does that make sense? It's a great story of these 2 young ladies whose whole lives are overshadowed by their mothers, really, and the choices they make because of it. It is really good, really, really good. I'm really enjoying it. I'm actually listening. I have this on my Kindle but I am actually listening to the audiobook of this one, and I am really, really enjoying it. My Kindle book is The Road of Bones by Demi Winters. This is the first in a series. I don't know how, I think there are like 3 books out. I think the 3rd book, the latest book, was available as a Libro FM ARC for February, and I kept coming back to it because I kept seeing it and being like, "Oh, that sounds interesting," but it's like the 3rd book, and I wasn't interested enough to start the 3rd book, the 1st book, until I saw one of my favorite creators mention it, and I was like, "Oh, so it might be good." And so I just went ahead and downloaded it, and it's so good. It's so good. I downloaded it from Libro FM since I had some credits, and I it's good, but I couldn't keep up with all the characters. Because, in the beginning of, like, a romantasy book or a fantasy book, sometimes they are, um, really introducing all these characters, and in this one, there are a lot of characters and magic system, and it was I couldn't keep up. So I switched over to a physical copy from the library. Once I get more comfortable knowing who is who, I might switch back after I finish Ken, though. I'm not reading a Kindle book right now because the 2 I just mentioned are holding my attention, and I really have to deep dive and pay attention to those 2, and I'm at the point in both where I just really wanna keep going and find out what happens. So, when I finish these 2 books, I will move on to another one. Okay, friends, that is all I have for today. As always, if you enjoyed listening, I would love it if you would follow me on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. And if you have a minute, please think about leaving a review on Apple Podcast or sharing the podcast on social media. It helps us to grow and find other bookish friends. If you would like to connect with me, you can email me at pouringoverbookspod@gmail.com or DM me on Instagram at LaShawn Wilts, and I'm also over on TikTok at the same name. If you want to join the Pouring Over Books book club, this month we are reading Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison, and we would love to have you. I will also leave a link to join us in the show notes. Okay, friends, thanks again for listening. Talk to you later, friend. Bye bye.